Hello, my little crafty crafters. Welcome back to another Creative Monday. Today we're going to be building the second house that is adjacent to the Wood family. Now, this family doesn't have a last name because there is 3 different last names in the actual household, but the person who owns the household has not got a last name either, to be fair. I haven't thought of one yet, but I will let you know when I do figure out one. But anyways, I hope you enjoy, because today we're going to be building a very unusual family, which is quite interesting. Now, it's going to be very fun, so strap in, grab a snack, grab a drink, make sure to stay hydrated, and let's get to it. First of all, before we do that though, we are going to go and check in on the Woods family, as Sally Wood is still missing. She just walked off, and now I don't know where she is. She disappeared for good, and I have no idea where the fuck she's gone. Couldn't tell you. So I went around and checked on all of them, and then they was all fine, except for Sally. Still couldn't find her. And then we started work on the living room. Now, this living room is going to be a very red-themed living room. I'm not sure why I decided that, but I did. I also really struggled with the sofa placement because I wanted to have a dining table in here. You'll see later on as to why, because the kitchen's a little different. But I wanted to have that, and I got some shelves in. And I got a nice small little TV. And I thought, you know what, this place needs a few paintings. So, and I didn't know that was a size painting you could have, but I was very happy. I then tried to make some little storage things underneath the painting. I thought that looks cool, I'll make some more on the top. And then I ended up just covering it in trapdoors, so it actually looked pretty nice. But yeah, this is the living room. I like this room, it's really nice. I would personally have this living room myself. I feel like I'm going to say that about all of them, but I am building them, so hey ho. But you can come over here, you can sit down and watch some TV. I haven't got the cushions yet, so I actually can't sit down, but we'll get that soon. And then you can come over to the table, have a nice little family meal together, and it can be all nice and sweet, and I quite like that. I really do enjoy this room. One of my favourite rooms out of the whole house. I'll tell you my favourite later on though. Now, here's where it gets a bit funky. This house is going to belong to an old lady. So, where are we going to put the loo? We're going to put it downstairs. And they need 4 bedrooms. So they've got to put the loo downstairs and then have the kitchen and a bathroom and a storage room all shoved into one. So for the kitchen, I was trying to give off a nice little cramped but cozy vibe. So very like, it's really tight and awkward, but it's cozy, if that makes sense. There's a point where cramped becomes too much to handle, but there's a point where it becomes nice and chillaxed, and I kind of wanted that. I also built a little storage room, so it had like shelves in there and lots of barrels and storage, which was a bad idea because all the villagers now just flock to all of those barrels for some reason. So yay. I then started work on the bathroom, and with an old lady, she's not really going to want a proper shower, is she? She's going to want a walk-in shower. I then decided to dig the shower drain all the way down to the void for some reason, but it was quite funny seeing the void. So I flew all the way back up through this hole, and then I found someone in the bathroom, and I was very surprised with who it was. But you won't believe it, it was Tony. Now Tony is known for sleeping with one of these people who live in this house, not the old lady, but her daughter, who's just gone through a messy divorce, and Tony is happily sleeping with her. So I shoved him into the void. Bye! I felt quite happy I did that. I also then just went absolutely haywire with the torches because it needed to be lit up, so it needed that amount of torches. And people are probably going to hate me for my torch placement, but I don't really care. I like them. I think they're weird and cool. Yeah, this is the kitchen. I quite like it. It's cramped, but it's cozy. They got little drawer things. I don't know why one of those were open. I got little shelves, got a sink, you got an oven. This is the storage room. I quite like this. We will be going back in here later, don't worry. And then this is the shower, or bathroom thing. I quite like it. And it's a functional shower. I don't think I show this in this part, but it is a functional shower. It is. Oh yeah, I do show it. Yay! It's a functional shower. I was so happy that it worked. And because I broke 2 blocks down there, it didn't overflow into the bathroom, which is perfect for me. I absolutely love the fact that it's like a perfect little shower that Granny can just step into. Now, let's get into actually building the flooring and the walls of this second floor. I also started work on the old lady's bedroom, but that was a mistake, and I wasn't supposed to do that. So yeah. Anyways, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms up here. I did start working on the old lady's bedroom, but I soon did realise that I actually need to put all the walls up. So let's go do that. Once that was done, I began working on Grandma's bedroom. I really like this shelf design. It really gives like a little nice cutesy thing. I also put a bunch of pictures up on the wall as if to say like they're pictures of our family. And then we start working on the granddaughter's bedroom. Now there's two of them and they're twin girls. They're about 5, 6-ish, a rough age. But I was going to really try my best to do bunk beds in this room, and I couldn't decide what I wanted the flooring to be. I ended up coming to the conclusion of pink carpet, which I was quite happy about. But yeah, the bunk beds was a massive struggle, and you will see why in a second. I don't know how to build bunk beds in Minecraft, and you still to this day cannot sleep in the bottom one, so that's fun. Oh well, we will live with that, that's fine. So I started off by placing the first bed, and then the second bed, obviously. That makes sense, surely. Yeah, it does. Ignore me, I'm waffling on a bit here. I realised that you could sleep in the bed, and I was quite happy with that. So I decided to use some shelves to try and like give it a nice decent frame, but it didn't really work. And then this is just me fucking around for about God knows how long trying to figure it out. I ended up placing the shelves inwards so they could have some like in-bed storage, and it was actually quite good, and I quite liked it. You still can't sleep in the bottom bed, but oh well, that's fine, we will live with that. I then decided to build them both like a nice little wardrobe each, and they have a desk where they can do like homework and I don't know, whatever girls want to do. Write stories. I know I used to write stories. Weird. I then began working on the mum's room. And that was that. The mum's room did go by quite fast, but yeah. And then here's a tour of my favourite room, the little girl's room with the bunk beds. Absolutely love it. I think it's gorgeous. Love this bedroom so much. And then we get to naming them all. So I enjoy me running around after villages and naming them all. I then began to work on the garden. So in this household, we have a grandmother, a mother, and 3 children. Now the mother has recently divorced her husband and she's living with her mum and her 3 kids. And she has a very dodgy little room. So this is 19 Chester Road, as the other sign said. And let's go for a tour of the house. There are currently 3 children and 2 adults living in this tiny little house because they have nowhere else to live. But here's the living room where they eat their meals, they watch TV, they play games, you know, all the usual stuff you do in a living room. I'm not sure what other stuff you could do in a living room, but you know, hey ho. Then here we have the kitchen where all the meals are prepped and all the food is kept. And because this is a massive family of 5, they have extra storage space. And I quite like this. All the villagers do flock to that though because they're barrels. We then have the downstairs bathroom. I love this bathroom personally. I think it's so cool. I really love my little shelf design and the fact that it has a working shower. That just amazes me. And then here we have the garden. It's a little bit overgrown. It's not really looked after because that's not anybody's main concern. But it's there for the kids to run around if they want. Then I ran into Lily and I was like, hello, what are you doing there? And then we head upstairs and now we can have a grand tour of all of the rooms. So this is Grandma Maria's room. So Maria is the grandma and she has pictures of all of her grandkids and all of that and some of their artwork up on a wall. Very simple, very basic little room. And then we have her daughter's room. This is Isabel's room. Now she has just been basically shoved into the storage room with a bed. And she needs a lot of storage because she's just left a fully, 4-bed house for her mum's. And then this is Josh's room. He's a nice little boy. He's very well behaved. And this is the twins' room, Poppy and Lily. I personally really like this room, and it is my favourite because of the bunk beds. I then began working on the exterior of the house and filling in all the weird little bits of the windowsill that I quite like. I think that windowsill is awesome personally. It's one of my favourite window designs ever. It actually gives the house some actual structure instead of making it look just like a giant square. It actually gives it some decent structure, which I'm quite happy with. I then started working on the actual roof of this house because we can't do that in last episode because I need to build 2 houses to then build the roof. And as you might be aware from last episode, this was a design I had when I was about 12 years old. So I was trying to remember how I did the roof. And I couldn't quite think of how to do it. And I was like, no, this looks wrong. So I decided to build it up another block and then try and do that. And that actually worked. And now you get to enjoy me building a roof. I had to suffer through it. You do too. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is house 1 and house 2 done. Thank you for watching today's video. I know it was a little bit short, however I had a lot going on the past few weeks, so I'm very sorry for that, but it is my birthday month. There's always stuff going on in my birthday month. Hopefully next episode can be longer and not as rushed. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you to everyone who's commented, liked and subscribed so far, because that really helps and really boosts my personal self-esteem. I will say it does. It makes me feel better about myself, which is fantastic. And it helps me grow the channel a bit more. And all I want for this channel is to just inspire people to play Minecraft, to post Minecraft, because I know how important those things are to people. I know people really enjoy playing and posting Minecraft. Anyways, have a lovely day and I hope it carries on as wonderful as it possibly can. Fruitcake out.